Hello, welcome to Mount Kenya University. My name is Professor Pamela Ochieng from the Department of Educational Management and Curriculum Studies. And the unit that we are about to tackle is known as Curriculum Development. This unit applies for both the postgraduate students and for the undergraduate students. Postgraduate, that is PGDE, as well as the bachelor degree students. The unit code is BEM 2101, and the unit title is Curriculum Development. Now, the purpose of this particular course is to equip the learner with the knowledge, skills, and desirable attitudes with regard to curriculum development, implementation, and evaluation. The course objectives include, first, we are going to look at the meaning of curriculum. Then we are going to identify the components of curriculum. Then we'll discuss the curriculum development and development process and the related agents to curriculum development. We'll move on to look and identify the determinants of educational objectives, and then we will identify and explain the national goals of education with regard to the curriculum development. We'll also be able to establish the philosophical foundations of curriculum. We'll identify and explain the patterns of curriculum organization. We'll also discuss curriculum development process, and we should be able to explain innovation and implementation strategies with regard to the curriculum. And then we will also discuss the curriculum changes since independence in Kenya. So our topic 1 is Introduction to Curriculum Development. And we begin with a definition of terms. Now, the first term that I would like to define is the term education. Education comes from the Latin word educare, which means to nourish or to raise. This is the process of raising the desirable knowledge, skills, and attitudes. According to Oluoch in 1982, he defines education as the process of acquiring and developing necessary knowledge, skills, and desirable attitudes to make one a useful member of the society. Now, what are the functions of education? Education functions to serve the needs of national development. It also assists in fostering and promoting national unity. Education prepares and equips the youth of the country so that they can play an effective role in the life of a nation, while at the same time ensuring that opportunities are provided for further development of the individual talents and personality. Education also fosters respect and development of varied culture. Education provides minimum skills that are necessary for the individuals to position themselves in the society and to seek further knowledge. Education provides vocational training that enables the members to be self-reliant. Education also awakens an interest in a taste of knowledge. It makes you yearn and desire for knowledge. It also makes men and women critical. Education trains the individual to appreciate the cultural and moral achievement of mankind. We have different types of education. The first category is formal education. This is the kind of education that is carried out in institutions with specific goals and well-stated curriculums, well-stated venues, well-defined teachers and learners. It is the process of training and developing people with regard to knowledge, skills, their mind, and the structure. It also structures their character in a certified program. That is formal education. Then secondly, we have informal education. Informal education is unstructured education where learning takes place through imitation, observation, and participation. That is informal education. The non-formal education, on the other hand, is organized, and it is systematic and structured, and it has a syllabus. It happens, however, outside the education system, and it enables groups to participate as a group. It enables individuals to cooperate in the learning process. Like in the case of games, in the case of athletics, there are rules that have been specified for that kind of activity, but it is carried out outside the classroom setting. That is non-formal education. Informal education is that which is not structured, like the way someone behaves, the etiquette that we learn as a result of interacting with others. That is informal education. And non-formal education, it is well organized, but we have it out of the classroom setting. Now, what about the concept of curriculum? It is also a Latin word from the word currere, which means to run. Curriculum refers to the all learning which is planned and guided by the school, whether it is carried out in groups or individually or outside the school. That is according to Kelly in 1999. So curriculum refers to all the activities that are planned and guided by the school setting. Another definition that was given in 1980 by Daniel Turner states that curriculum is the planned and guided learning experiences and intended learning outcomes formulated through the systematic reconstruction of knowledge and experiences under the auspice of the school for the learners to continuously and willingly grow in their personal social competencies. In other words, we are saying that it has to be planned and it also has to be guided. It is characterized by learning outcomes and it has to be systematic. It has to lead to construction of knowledge. It also must enable one to gather experiences that are essential. Other definitions given on curriculum are as indicated. We have Cole in 2003 giving us that as the definition of the curriculum. Then we have Oluoch 2006 who states that all that is planned and enabled by the students, it enables the students to acquire and develop the desired knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Then Saylor and Alexander in 1974 also came up with a definition. Now, what we get from all these definitions is that the term curriculum can be said to be a program. It can be a course of action. However, the major similar characteristics is that it must have learning objectives, it must have content, activities, it must include experiences, There are materials and resources included within. There is a methodology to be utilized, and there is a mode of evaluation. And it is geared towards attaining certain goals. Another concept that we should define is the concept syllabus. A syllabus is a plan with subjects to be studied in a course. It is an outline or other brief statement of the main points of discourse, the subjects of a course. It is the content of a curriculum. A syllabus is a plan with subjects to be studied in a course by a particular group of people or a particular group of learners within a given period of time. And what is a subject? We can define the concept subject as a specific area of knowledge that is studied in a school or college or any learning institution. For example, we can have Kiswahili as a subject. We have mathematics, among others. And what is the concept? Curriculum development. When we talk of curriculum development, we refer to the process of creating curriculum materials for use by educators and children that are a product of the curriculum planning. Curriculum development will involve, one, identity of the needs of the society. We must identify what learning needs we should utilize. Then secondly, we must plan for the training. Then thirdly, we must deliver the training. And lastly, we should be able to evaluate the training. In other words, curriculum development is a sum total of all the processes from the conceptualization stage of the idea to the evaluation stage of that particular concept. This may entail rewriting and reviewing the existing curriculum or a total overhaul of a particular curriculum. We can develop what is there by improving on it. We can develop what is there by overhauling it. We can develop what is there by removing it and having something else in place of it. And that brings us to the end of our topic 1, the elements or components of the curriculum. These include the aims, goals, and objectives, content or subject matter, the experience, the evaluation. Remember, in our topic 1, we looked at the definition of the terms. As we look into the elements and components of the curriculum, it is important that we redefine the concepts that we had already mentioned, and we should not forget about them. Now let us look at the components of the curriculum. The components include, component 1 include aims, goals, and thirdly, we have the objectives. Component 2, on the other hand, we have the content or the subject matter. That is what the learners are going to learn about in class. Then component 3, we have the learning experiences. In other words, what the learners are going to do in class. And in component 4, we have curriculum evaluation. We are going to look at the whole process and see whether we had faults so that we can identify what to improve and what to emphasize, put more emphasis upon. So that brings us to the end of topic 2. We mentioned the determinants of education. And the determinants of education based on the aims, the goals, and the objectives of education are determined by the goals of education as provided for by every nation. So first and foremost, before we develop a curriculum, it is important to consider the needs of the society. As we had mentioned, the aims, the goals, and the objectives are determined by the national priorities. So when we are considering the needs of the society, the issues that we need to put to perspective will include literacy, we have vocational skills, we have the social order and morality, we have the interpersonal skills, we have the transmission of values and culture, we have creativity and innovation. These will be determined by the needs of the society. Then secondly, we have the economic sector. And the economic sector will be affected by the socio-economic and physical situation of the society. This will include the school surroundings and the attitude that the society has towards the education of pupils or students in that particular location. The subculture can help us to determine the objectives of education. Then we also have the third determinant, which is the learner. The pupils are independent entities with their own needs. They have their own interests and aspirations, which must receive special attention when we are formulating the objectives. We also have the school itself, and the school climate will determine the attitude of the teachers, the attitude of the learners, and the relationship between them. This could be very significant when it comes to the implementation of the curriculum. Now, the teachers are charged with the responsibility of implementing the curriculum. Their knowledge of goals originate from the curriculum contexts through the Ministry of Education. The teachers also receive such information and communicate it to the students. They will receive it from the KICD, and they will communicate the information to the students. They'll also be given that information through the Ministry of Education, and the inspectorate, directorate will determine whether the delivery is well done or not. Now we have certain basic questions that we need to ask ourselves when it comes to the development of the curriculum. And Tyler gave us the basic questions that are very critical to curriculum development. There are 4. The first one is, what educational purposes should the school seek to attain? What is it that the school is seeking to attain? Then secondly, what educational experiences can be provided that are likely to attain these purposes? What is it that we are going to do so that the students can attain what they have to attain? Then thirdly, how can these educational experiences be effectively organized? When it comes to the curriculum, what is it that we are going to teach first as opposed to what we are going to teach at different stages? And then fourth, how can we determine whether and to what extent these purposes are being attained? And that is where now we have the report cards, so that we can be able to tell what is it that we have achieved and what is it that we are yet to achieve. Now that is how we determine the achievement of the curriculum. And that brings us to the end of topic 3. Now in topic 4, we look at the steps and stages in curriculum development. And we note that the KICD the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, the cycle, they gave us 9 stages of curriculum development. The stage 1 is the need assessment or the situational analysis. Now here is where we go out to the villages to collect information. We collect data and report in writing so that we are able to know what is happening at the grounds, so that we can be able to determine what is critical for the people of that particular nation. That report will be generated from the data that will be collected and eventually disseminated to all the stakeholders. And the key participants in this case will be the Ministry of Education and the KICD Secretary. Now from there, they will give to other stakeholders such as the Teachers Service Commission. We also have the university representatives, we have the field officers, we have the Parents Association, among other stakeholders. Then once that has been done and the report has been disseminated, the second stage is formulation of objectives. Now for the formulation of the objectives, it will involve the national goals of education. We must put that to perspective. We must also consider the level of objectives and the number of subjects that are to be taught. Then the stage 3 is where now we are setting up curriculum projects. That is known as the curriculum design. Here we will determine the subject general objectives. We will also consider the topical contents. We will consider the scope and sequence charts, and we'll also consider the curriculum designs. This requires the involvement of experts. Then from there, stage 4 has A and B. This involves program building. 4A is where the syllabus development and approvals is done. It involves writing workshops, subject panels, course panels, academic boards, printing and production of syllabuses, distribution of those syllabuses. Then part B of stage 4 is where we have the development of curriculum support materials. This involves production of course and teachers' guides, production of non-print materials, and development of handbooks and manuals. The whole program building will require experts' involvement. Then stage 5 is where we prepare the curriculum implementers. This involves the orientation of teachers, education officers, and other stakeholders. And why do we need to prepare them? We need to prepare them because they're the ones who are going to implement the curriculum when it comes to implementation process. Then stage 6 in curriculum development is where we have the pre-testing, the piloting, and the phasing in. This will involve selection of pilot schools, piloting, monitoring the piloting, revision of the syllabuses, and vetting of curriculum support material. Another word for piloting is trying out. So we need to try it out in order to ensure that it will work for us. The next stage is national implementation. And here is where we have the teacher orientation, where the teachers are introduced to the curriculum. Then we have the distribution of the syllabuses. All the schools are given the syllabuses as is expected by the Ministry of Education, and then eventually they must be able to do that which they have been trained to do. That is the implementation. At stage 8, we have monitoring and evaluation. And monitoring and evaluation can be both summative and formative. Formative is to ensure that the right thing is done at every stage, and summative is the one that is done at the end of the program. And monitoring and evaluation will enable us to know whether we are doing what we are supposed to do or achieving what we had aimed at right from the beginning. For us to do that well, we need to have the syllabus so that we will be well guided in the process. And then stage 9 is where we have the maintenance. If the intended outcome of the curriculum after thorough evaluation are met, then the curriculum is nationally adopted fully. But if not, we go back to the drawing board so that we can be able to look and review the cycle so that we determine where we went wrong. Now those are the steps, the stages in curriculum development. Now from there, let us see some of the determinants of educational objectives. How do we determine educational objectives? We have the demands from the society, the contemporary society. The demands are based on the culture of the people. The demands are based on the social setups and the lifestyles. The demands are based on the social institutions. And therefore, we must put these into perspective even in the process of determining the educational objectives. You realize that the educational objectives are national. And since they are national, they apply to all the institutions within the country. So some of the problems that we might be facing as a society we might be facing in a given county as a society might also apply in another and yet another. Some of the problems could include environmental issues. Those will be different from one society to the other depending on the location of that particular school. We also have cultural issues. And lastly, we have the socio-economic issues, which also differ from one place to another. But the objectives are given to us by the Ministry of Education, the National Office for Implementation throughout the whole country. Now, the local environment will include the pupils' homes. We must consider the nature of the pupils that we have in our schools. Otherwise, pretending that it does not matter might not help us in achieving our objectives. We must also consider the socioeconomic and physical situation of the school surrounding. We do not expect students who stay in the slum areas to behave the way the other students behave, those that do not stay or those that stay away from the slum areas. Attitude is also very, very important, and the attitude will be determined by the home background of that particular learner. Then we must also consider the learner. Pupils need to be interested and to aspire to become people of substance in the community. That attitude will enable the learner to become inquisitive, and when they are inquisitive, they can be able to learn better as opposed to when they are not inquisitive. Then we have the school itself. The school climate and the attitude of the teachers will also determine the objectives of learning. The teacher's own philosophy of education, what he holds as a priority in the education, also matters very greatly as such. Another issue is knowledge. To achieve any objective, there must be positive interaction between the learner and some kind of knowledge. And as we can see, when the learner achieves, then they get excited and they get motivated to move on to the next level. We also have the philosophy. We have the national philosophy of education. We also have social philosophies and those that are determined by the community. These can serve as a useful screen for determining the objectives of education or the objectives that are to be addressed in the education sector over time. Then we move on to psychology as a determinant. This includes the theories, both the learning and child development theories that we have been provided with. And Tyler in 1949 makes it very clear. He distinguishes between that which can be expected as a result from the learning process and those that cannot be expected out of the learning process. He also looks at the goals that are feasible and those that are impossible to attain at a particular age. So psychologically, we need to consider the knowledge that we are imparting and also the content that we are imparting to the learners, because at the end of the day, that will determine whether we are going to meet the objectives of education or not. And that brings us to the end of topic 4.
These televised lectures supplement our robust online learning going on our MKU online platform. You can view more on our televised lectures via our online platform. We are in a digital era, and Mount Kenya University knows this. The following are the steps to follow so as to complete your online application. Download the application form from the website www.mku.ac.ke. Attach copies of your academic certificates and ID. Pay the application fees via M-Pesa pay bill number 270988. Your ID is the account number. 2,000 shillings is the charge for a postgraduate. You can also deposit in the bank accounts provided on the website. Then email all the above to apply@mku.ac.ke.